good stuff. Time for two more.
I'm thinking of those days gone by now. So music in the air. Life was good then it had meaning. We danced without a care. There I met you, our closest friends, whose eyes I'd seen before. We had come together.
Alrighty now. 9 to noon goes back to full strength. Always were. That's debatable. Good morning. This is the Friday football feast. And the Minnesota Vikings bookend this opening segment with life and death. First, new life has been acquired for KO's offense.
2nd out and 10. Purdy in the shotgun sends Juszczyk in motion to the left. Takes the snap. Back to pass. Purdy looking. Throws deep down the field. Caught by Jennings. Angles right to the 15. Down to the 10. Turns at the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown 49ers. Juwan Jennings, a catch and run of 38. And with 2:15 to go, the 49ers have taken the lead, 41-38.
Wait a second. 7th rounder from Tennessee back in 2020. Juwan Jennings with that highlight with the Niners. He's now a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Did I hear catch and run of 38? Which means Brock Purdy or whomever, might have been Jimmy Garoppolo, somebody hit him right near the line of scrimmage, and he ran for 38. Juwan Jennings, run after the catch. Who knew? Good morning.
Ooh, run after the catch in an offense that appreciates the ability to run after said catch. KO's like, look, I'm going to put you in a spot to be open. I'm asking really just a couple things from you. First of all, shorthanded, please.
Juwan, I'll get you open. Don't worry. Don't worry about that.
I think that's the conversation at TCO. Hey, welcome to the building. Yeah, cool facility. Yeah, there's a cryo chamber over there. You'll get to that. Here's the deal. You're going to be open in this offense. And when you get open, be ready. And when you're ready, we're going to throw it to you. You just have to catch it and run, baby, run.
Run, baby, run.
Run after catch with Juwan. He's going to dye his hair purple. The whole thing, it's going to be unbelievable with Juwan Jennings now in the Purple Covenant.
Will there be any moments now that Juwan Jennings is what is known as the third wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings? Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and the veteran Juwan Jennings in the stead of Jalen Naylor, who now is a Las Vegas Raider. Will there be any point of the season where the announcer for the Minnesota Vikings will approach somebody with accolades, happiness, and joy over a, let's say, 25-yard Kyler Murray rushing touchdown, only to have a Microsoft Surface jammed in his face with somebody saying, "You like Jennings here wide open?"
I always love that one.
You like Jennings on the middle zone attack wide open?
I always love that.
Yeah, but it was all right, cool. All right, go team.
I always
You think
love
there
that
won't
one.
be a moment when you see the head coach shaking his head and almost you can see him looking at a play that he had drawn up on a bar napkin as Juwan Jennings is wide open, back corner of the end zone, and Kyler Murray, the magician, Tyler, the creator, as you would say, found his way for 6 himself?
Well, FIJA, a redo as a 1A. FIJA, Fairness and J.J. McCarthy Act. So after young J.J. runs for 25 yards and a touchdown, do you think there potentially will be a moment when somebody puts a Microsoft Surface right next to the unibrow, pointing at Juwan Jennings saying, yeah, that was a touchdown, but you like Jennings here wide open by 15 yards?
I always love that one.
Well, at what point in the season are we going to have a JJ to JJ for the payday of a different variety, JJ to Juwan Jennings in 2026?
9 to Noon's quite happy about this. First free agent we brought up for myriad reasons. It's a team thing. It's a complimentary thing. And through 5 years with San Francisco and mostly as an ancillary piece, Juwan Jennings played in almost all the games. He's a tough guy. Made big catches on third down. Did I say he's a tough guy and he plays through injuries? And last year with Debo gone, Ayuk AWOL, and Kittle in and out with injury, old Juwan Jennings found a way to haul in 9 touchdowns. The year before that, he had 6, all as a background player to a bunch of stars. Nothing personal here. It's business. But with respect, because I'm quite fond of the young man, for my taste, he's a better receiver than Jalen Nailor, the artist formerly known as the team's third receiver who left for Vegas. Now, he's not nearly as fast as Jalen, and I hope Jalen tears it up with a quarterback with Kirk O'Chains off the play action to Ashton Genty. We want Jalen to tear it up because we like him. But here's the deal. Even though Juwan is not nearly as fast as Jalen, he's bigger. He'll be the best blocking receiver we have had here in quite some time. And he adds to what seems, he'll add to what seems to have some offensive approach change to it. Not stark dramatic change, but just the nuts and bolts of things to go with Kyler's wheels and Bredesen's blocking. And now Jennings, Josh Oliver, TJ, running backs, Damon Claiborne, YA go crazy, Justin and Jordan. Juwan fits perfectly. Tough guy who also kept the gang together when things became dicey out San Francisco way. Now, a natural leader people respect because he loves getting down and dirty with some plays to pave the way for others. He's going to help all over the field, but especially with running in the red zone and catching inside the 20 and 10. Tom Pelissero reported Juwan Jennings is here on a 1-year, $8 million deal that can get up to $13 million with incentives. Alec Lewis of The Athletic, theathletic.com. He is here at 10 o'clock, and we will unpack more of this and talk about rookie camp, which is today, and also see what is going on with the general manager search. Give me your best 10 seconds, quick twitch on Juwan Jennings so I can find something.
Yeah, for me, again, the excitement that we have, it's not necessarily about him carrying this offense. It's not a superstar pickup, but with how he plays and how he fits into this offense and replacing Jalen Nailor, as you've mentioned.
Oh, you got
another piece.
You got a lot of Uncle Joe in here, don't you?
Yeah, we got a little bit of Uncle Joe in there.
Hey.
Excited to, not excited given the circumstances, but looking forward to thinking back, looking back, hearing back.
Go ahead.
His time with you. But yeah, Jennings, in terms of what we don't know about Ty Felton, feels kind of like we're starting from scratch in year 2, given the lack of reps.
Yeah.
And how this offense wants to operate. Juwan Jennings was, just delighted to hear that we found him in our stable. That's awesome.
For the most part, the Minnesota Vikings offseason moves they've come to a conclusion. All right. They went balling on a budget, had to say goodbye to some who didn't fit or didn't want to be here. And from corner James Pierre through offensive lineman Ryan Vandemark to Juwan Jennings, here's how ESPN's Jordan Reed qualified the Vikings offseason, including the draft. Here's how the respected Jay Reed qualified the situation. Did so via Twitter at Jordan_Reed. Sneaky good offseason for the Vikings. Shed/restructure the contracts of aging, injured, and/or declining vets that don't fit their timeline. Drafted and infused help at much-needed spots for the short and long term. Signed reliable veterans that don't hinder future flexibility. Jay Reed, smart man. Jay Reed, don't leave home without him. Is everybody ready to howl tonight? Or did the ravaging by the Riverwalk harsh your mellow? This is a cerebral series. Finch did a number on Mitch, second half of the first game. And as Trent Tucker shared yesterday with Nordo, we got Mitch to big game 2 with all the trapping and doubles, causing players the Spurs wanted to handle the ball to be the central focus. So how does Finchy get around that tonight? More Wolves chat in the middle hour. Then the Wild, though, tomorrow night in St. Paul, down 2-0 against a team that skates with wind in their sails and hits with purpose and ferocity. The Colorado Avalanche look unstoppable to many in the hockey world, but Wild coach John Hynes is not one of them. He joins 9 to noon at 9:30. Hynesy at 9:30. But as we mentioned, today's lid lifter on the Friday Football Feast goes the way of the Minnesota Vikings, and a common thread involving new life to an already quality offense and the death of team tight end immortality. You've heard 9 to noon with the drops for years. Uncle Joe Sensor.
Good golly. Oh, this is disgusting.
And Uncle Joe Sensor, take number 2.
Oh, well.
Greg Coleman is going to join us here in a second, was here for all these. This is a favorite of many from 2002, the first home game of 2002, which means the first regular season home game. I had the privilege of doing play-by-play for the Minnesota Vikings in 2002. Came down to a pretty big kick by a guy who already had missed an extra point. Uncle Joe unfurled this.
The extra point, is it? It's no good again!
Get the hell out of here!
Doug Bryan missed it to the left again, and the Vikings only lead by 2.
Come on!
May God rest the soul of former Vikings tight end Joe Sensor, who yesterday died at age 69. Joe is survived by wife Amy and daughters Hannah, Brittany, and Molly, and his son AJ. Uncle Joe Sensor also was the analyst for KFAN and the Vikings radio network 2001 to 2006. That included my first 5 years calling their games. I had no professional experience when the Fan and the Vikings hired me to do play-by-play in 2002, and absolutely would not still be fulfilling that role were it not for the wisdom provided by Uncle Joe Sensor and sideline analyst Greg Coleman, who joins us now. My man, thanks for helping. And yesterday was a sad yet joyous day for many of us as we shared memories of Uncle Joe's life. You knew Joe for about 45 years. What was he like when he joined the team in 1980 as a big, just kind of a big, strapping, curly-haired tight end from tiny Westchester?
You know, he was a specimen, as they say in the business. But he was raw with talent, but a big upside. And the Vikings had to figure out a way. How were they going to keep this kid? Because he was on the bubble. And I have to give credit where credit is due. And I think a lot of that goes to former receiver coach and former head coach Les Steckel, because Les saw what many of us didn't see in Joe Sensor. And he lobbied for Joe. Fortunately or unfortunately, Joe came up with a little back injury his rookie year, a blessing in disguise. He was put on IR, and that gave Les and the organization an opportunity to watch him grow, watch him mature as a player. I got that same opportunity his rookie year, holding a practice dummy, doing walkthroughs, and he comes off the ball and knocks the living crap out of me, knocks me down. So I jump up and I get in his face and I look up at him. I say, let me tell you something, little curly-haired, blue-eyed boy. If you hit me one more time like that, we're going to have a problem. And he said, Touch, I got to do everything that I can to make this team, man.
Yeah.
I'm on the bubble. I'm from Westchester State. It hit me right then because I understood his plight, because I, too, was a late-round draft choice. And I remember having to do everything that I could to make the team. So I said, look here, rookie, you're going to make this team and don't worry about it. And that bond, that friendship started because I watched him and encouraged him, did my part, and the rest is history. Had not been for that debilitating knee injury that he had, Joe would have gone down as one of the best tight ends in the National Football League.
Greg Coleman, former punter for the Minnesota Vikings, longtime sideline analyst for the Vikings radio network, working with yours truly and Joe Sensor, then yours truly and Pete Bursich. Greg Coleman, 9 to noon.
What in the ham fat is going on with you guys?
Now, that rookie year, and I was talking to some friends of mine who are old school Vikings fans. They've lived here all their lives, unlike you and I. That rookie year when you guys beat Cleveland in the Miracle at the Met, Ahmad Rashad caught the game winner. But the play before, Sensor caught one center of the field and pitched to Teddy Brown for a big gain to set up the Miracle. Was that a called hook and lateral? Do you remember?
Yes, and again, I'll go back to Les Steckel. I think Les had that play in the arsenal and told Burnsy at the right time, hey, it's time for the hook and lateral. I mean, who better than some of the best hands on the team, caught it chest high, chest pass, played basketball, so he had all of those things working for him. Teddy Brown being one of the best athletes that I have ever been around, took it, got to the sideline, got out of bounds, and the rest is history with Tommy Ahmad and Sammy and Terry LeCount.
Now, that play there, the Miracle at the Met, personifies setting up others because Joe had to pitch it to Teddy to get into proper range for Ahmad Rashad to walk off on Sam Rutigliano and the Cleveland Browns. So setting up others, Joe and his altruistic way to life, always thinking about others. Like, listen to this.
It's a long year. Everybody just relax. It's going to be all right.
That's how we remember Joe. One of the most giving people we've known. He not only Teddy Brown in that situation, but Joe did a lot behind the scenes to help a lot of people, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And his humility, his big heart, his charitable makeup, his DNA. Joe was a giver. And almost to a fault. I've said this before. He would give you the shirt off his back, and he would tell you, now don't you tell anybody.
Right.
Because I knew some of the hospital visits that he would make to kids, the visits to orphanages, because that was part of his makeup. That was part of his DNA, the body of work that he had to go through, some of the obstacles that he had to go through. This kid had to go through a whole hell of a lot that the whole story hasn't been told. And we had some great conversations, PA, on the plane, back and forth during training camp and the games, and even outside of that. There's some things that I will go to my grave with because he's just that kind of guy, and got so much love for him, so much respect for him. Perfect man? Absolutely not, because not one of us can say that we're perfect. There was only one man that was perfect. We know who that is. And if I think about Joe in totality, he was a fighter.
Yep.
He was a giver, and let's face it. I think it was 2 Timothy 4:7. I've had a hell of a race.
Yep. And he kept the
fought
faith.
The good fight of faith.
Yep.
He kept the faith, and now he's finished his race. And I'll always remember that about Joe. A businessman, an athlete, an entrepreneur, a broadcaster, a friend, and a guy that I got a lot of love for, man. Got a lot of love for.
Former Vikings tight end Joe Sensor. His tight end's immortality. Only played here 5 years because of a knee injury, a back, then into a knee. But he died at age 69 yesterday. And he had been in a nursing home for quite some time. He had a stroke like a decade and change ago. And when we called games together, Joe was the calm after some of those dramatic losses. I mean, some of those bus conversations that he and I and select players had, I'll just never forget them. I mean, we'd be on buses with some sad people, and he'd always have an encouraging word. He personified an exemplary leader. Now, at 11 o'clock today, Nordo's done a good job of putting together some highlights and sound and production and things like that. And I'm going to share some Skull stories, and I got about 4 or 5 of them. Most of which I've never shared on the radio, and they all involve Uncle Joe Sensor. One that I forgot, and I just remembered because of a couple words you said about 3 minutes ago. I'm just going to lay it out, and you take it where you want as long as you want. But it personifies how philanthropic and giving and the heart Joe Sensor had. Remember when 20 some odd years ago, the Vikings were at St. Louis to play the LA Rams. We got taken to the wrong part of town for a restaurant that was closed. We had you with us, and then on the cab ride back to the team hotel, the cabbie just opened his heart and was really, really in a bad spot. Remember that night?
Yeah, at Arthur Bryant's barbecue.
And it was closed, and yeah, we were getting approached by people, and we're looking for cabs. So then the cab driver opens his heart about some legitimate things he was going through.
Yes,
and he didn't ask anybody for money. So we get back to the team hotel. What's Joe do? Gets into his wallet, gives that guy $300, and he's like, I don't know what you need this for, or if you need it. I just want you to have it, because if only for paraphrasing, this 30 seconds of your life brings a smile to you, then I want you to have a smile. That St. Louis night, something that I'll never forget. I bet you remember this one. Go ahead.
He's a cheerful giver. You know, he wasn't begrudging when he went in his pocket to bless that young man. You know, because you never know the plight that somebody's in. And that $300 could have been like $300,000 to that cabbie at that moment.
The guy cried. And then we all embraced him outside of the cab. I'll never forget it. How about 2005? All right, 2005. We were in Cincinnati for week 2 after losing at the Dome to the Bucs. And that was the time the Vikings weren't spending any money on anything, knowing the team was going to be sold within a year. The great Steve Loney, Lone Dog. He had to be, it's not by choice, he had to be the offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator that year because they just weren't spending money. And so we're at Cincinnati. Tice was supremely confident into the game they'd score a bunch of points on the Bengals. Well, they got killed. They turned it over 7 times and scored 8 points. After the game by the buses, Steve Loney, just a bastion of class, was very emotional, and he was cracking because he was just way overwhelmed at that moment running those 2 jobs. Rob Brzezinski was hugging him and consoling him next to a bus. So what's Joe do? He sees it. All 3 of us are sitting together. He sees it, gets off the bus, walks over to lend a helping hand, and gets Steve Loney to laugh. That moment right there personifies who the late Joe Sensor was, right?
Yes, without question. PA, he was so special in so many ways. And that's just the tip of the iceberg on the kind of joy that he brought to other people. And he did it without prompting, without fanfare. Now, those are some of the things that we saw. Think about the number of things that he did under the cloak of darkness, because he didn't want any fanfare, didn't want his name in lights and all of those things. And I guarantee you, there are so many people in that Twin Cities community that have been blessed by Joe Sensor, whether it was a kind word as a player, as a restaurateur, just as a member of the community. I mean, they ain't many like Joe Sensor. They ain't many like JoJo.
No.
And he was special from start to finish. And one story that comes to mind, after he had the major stroke, he was fighting to get back on his feet, wanted to get back to a game at the Dome. And I can remember we were doing Legends, the sideline, whatever we called it, Legends Connection. And Joe agreed to go on with me and be on the big screen. He got the loudest and strongest and longest ovation because he had the courage to walk out and to courage, we had to frame the questions because we knew that he was having to retrain and relearn how to speak, and his yeses would be yes and yes, and that gregarious smile and no and touch and yes. And I will remember that like it was yesterday because it took so much courage for a man who knew his shortcomings and the disabilities that he was facing, but to come out and to put a smile on the face of the people in that stadium, it was it was second to none.
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
He loved his kids and wife, Amy, so much. When Brittany was embarking on a singing career, he poured his heart into helping her. I know the girls are having a rough time now, but also realize in what was his current state at that nursing home, that heading to heaven is an absolute blessing for anybody, but especially Joe. Love you very much, buddy. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for the time, okay?
All right, PA. Take care of yourself, Bubba.
Yep.
Take care.
See ya. That's Greg Coleman, former teammate of the late Joe Sensor. Part of the Timber Tech What's on Deck set list. John Hynes, coach of the Wild, around the corner. But first,
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, want to give you a shot to win some bonus bucks, national cash contest style. This hour's keyword is win. You can win with the keyword win at KFAN.com.
Ball.
I love how intense you guys are about your Vikings.
holy cow, with the producer of 9 to Noon, Eric Nordquist, beloved Con. Man, I'm flipping through these pages looking for some hockey stuff on the button bar. 11 o'clock today, I have some skull stories from days gone by of Minnesota Vikings football, most of which have not been shared on the 9 to Noon radio show. I was triggered chatting with a bunch of people yesterday about sharing memories and celebrating the life of Joe Sensor, like that Cincinnati Bengals story from 2005. That came to mind with Lone Dog, Steve Loney. You heard the name Rob Brzezinski, too. Back in 2005, Brzezinski, the first guy to console a man asked to run the offensive line and be the offensive coordinator because constituents knew the Minnesota Vikings were going to be sold within a year, so they weren't spending any money. And Lone Dog had to do both jobs, and they got killed at Cincinnati, and he loved the plan, and they turned it over 7 times. And Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson, was chirping with Fred Smoot. The Smoot continually got burned, and they got beat. I think they only scored 8 points. Rob Brzezinski, part of that general managerial search for the Minnesota Vikings, and personally speaking, I hope he gets it. But if he doesn't, we all move on together, as we do with the Minnesota Wild. Got a big one tomorrow night, and John Hynes is coach of the Minnesota Wild, and very gracious to give us a little bit of time. Coach Hynes, when, if ever, is the last time you were on the bench as a coach or a player for a 15-goal game like the first one? Has that ever happened?
No, first time.
I mean,
it was a wild one.
You probably could go back to, where'd you grow up? Rhode Island or Massachusetts?
Rhode Island, yeah.
You could probably go back to those Pee Wee days. You know, back in the Rhode Island days, you might have had some 21s to 4. You know what I mean? But this certainly ain't Pee Wee.
Yeah,
hockey.
I was gonna say maybe Pee Wee squirts, something like that when you're really young and goes like that. But not in a long time, PA. I'll tell you that.
Now, I'm going to be in the stands tomorrow night and happen to be quite excited about it. No press box, instead in the stands, rooting for your colors. What do you expect we'll see from your guys tomorrow night in Game 3?
I just think, we're going to be, ready to play our best game. I think, as I've talked to the players yesterday and this morning, that we've lost a couple games. We lost a couple games to Dallas as well, and we took the lessons out of them. We got better and better as the series went on, and just a focused, intense game. Be buttoned up defensively.
Yeah, I
think push some of the things that we want to do against them offensively that we've been able to expose and bring our best.
Coach, you and some players have cited special team scenarios in need of fixing to beat those guys. What was it? Was it more the Avs have just some really good players, or like too many breakdowns by your guys?
No, I think it's a combination. They have an excellent power play. They're on point. At times you have to give credit to the other team, but in saying that, we've got to be much more on point in some areas. I think a couple of the goals, we were in position to block a shot. We didn't block it, and the puck got to the net. I think there's some details, just our stick positioning and some reads and anticipating a little bit quicker
than we did. And, we worked on that, do some video. We're going to hit some stuff in practice today. So, it should be good.
The LA Kings rarely, if ever, activated their D and got swept. Now, they lost 4 low-scoring first-round games. When you studied the Kings' approach into this series, what did those games look like?
They were. I think that it looked as though that Colorado was on the attack all the time, and LA didn't muster much offensively. And I think to beat them, you have to have the combo of being able to check very well in certain aspects of the game. But then also there's things that, with our team and with our guys is that you want to be able to, you don't want to just defend playing defense. You also want to defend and make those guys have to play defense and stop in their D zone and battle for pucks and play at the net front and play below their goal line and have to defend, Hughes and Faber and Kirill and these guys skating in the offensive zone. So you have to have a combination. You've got to be very good and on point defensively and extremely structured. But, when you have the puck and you have the opportunity to attack, we have good players and a good team that can do that. And that's what you want to do against a high-powered offensive team is you want to make them defend.
That was an awesome answer, Coach. Thank you very much. John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild, taking on Colorado tomorrow night on KFAN. The game is in St. Paul. So, obviously within the confines of the rules, is it important to knock some confidence out of those guys? I mean, 5-on-5 game 2 looked like things settled in kind of the way you want to check and create, but fair to say something needs to kick some confidence out of those guys?
Yeah, I think they haven't had much adversity, in the playoffs to this point. So I just think our focus isn't so much, on them and where they're at mentally. It's more about our group, to be very honest with you. And that, we like a lot of the things that we did in the games. We didn't find a way to win it. We're certainly aware that, we weren't good enough to win the games, but there's some meat on the bone there to keep going and keep getting better. And that starts tomorrow night, and keep pushing. Keep pushing. A series can change in a heartbeat.
Yep.
You're never out of a game. You're never out of a series. You just keep playing, and there's a lot of metrics and a lot of things that you look at and say, okay, yes, we got to be better in some other areas, but we've been pretty darn good in a lot of other areas as well.
John, were you shocked game 2 when Parker Kelly cold-cocked a ref, then punched Boldy and received exactly 0 penalty minutes?
It's playoffs, PA. It's playoffs. You got to expect the unexpected. So, no, I'm not surprised.
He cold-cocked a ref. Are you kidding me? Okay, John Hynes, head coach of the Minnesota Wild, game 3 tomorrow night. Does Eriksson Ek have a chance to play tomorrow night or at any time this series?
Yep. There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
Chip, chair, and chance. Wow, that's what we like to hear. That's cool, man. What if anything, does Boldy lose when Eki doesn't play?
Well, I don't think Boldy necessarily himself personally, like in his game, loses something. It's just the dynamic of the line. Like they're a very good combo. I think sometimes when you look at lines, sometimes lines that click, it usually starts with a combo, and then the third guy complements, the 2 guys that have probably played together or have really good chemistry. So it's a little bit different because he's played with Eki a lot, and they have really good chemistry. But I think that Danila's come in and he's played pretty well there too.
What was with game 1? What was working well, Coach, when you guys stormed back and took that 5-4 lead?
Well, it's a little bit what I talked about a little earlier. I thought that we made very good puck decisions. I thought our puck pressure in the offensive zone was good. When we got in the offensive zone, I thought we hung on to pucks and spent time there. We had a shot presence. We had a shot mentality with a net front presence, which is hard to defend. And I thought once off of those, say we shoot and we don't score, I just thought our puck battle and level of puck retrieval in the offensive zone allowed us again to spend more time there and put them under some heat.
How your players and coaches, I guess too. How have the guys been since returning home after the 2 losses?
They've been great. You know, we had a day off when we first got home, and then yesterday we had some meetings and some training and kind of reset after the 2 games and know what we need to do moving forward, and looking to have a really good practice today and quick skate tomorrow morning, and then we'll be ready to go. So I think it was good. We took some things out of it, a little bit of rest and recovery for the guys mentally and physically, and now we're ready to go for the next 2.
Couple of quickies to close for the head coach of the Minnesota Wild. No, nobody wants 0-2 for sure. Nobody wants 0-2 for sure. But mentally, you can either dedicate yourselves to improving or sulking. So is part of your job checking with like each player to see where they are with their game 3 focus?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you do it with the individual players, and you do it collectively as a team, and you really analyze the games. I think one of the things, about this is you're going to be in different situations in playoffs and, or the regular season. It's the next focus, and making sure that you clearly understand, in multiple ways, whether that's through video, whether it's through your own, stats, whether it's a little bit of analytics, and so, okay, these part of the games here, this was good. Okay, these areas we've got to be better and tighter in, and here's how we can do it. So I think when you have that approach and you have that mentality, and collectively as a group, you truly understand the positives and the negatives out of the game and what you need to do moving forward, then we got to go and execute.
And lastly, have you publicly declared who gets the net tomorrow night? And if not, would you care to do so here?
I have not yet, and I would love to help you out on that one, PA, this morning, but I can't do it.
Coach, I'm going to be in the stands rooting for the team tomorrow night. Not all quiet and everything in the press box. Doesn't it say in your contract you have to share said goaltender info and all strategical alterations with the 9 to noon radio show? That's accurate, isn't it?
We might have to hit the new contract on that one. I don't think I have the same one you're reading.
You are the best. Tear it up tomorrow night, and maybe I'll see you after the game. But best of luck, okay?
All right, PA. Thanks, man. Have a good day.
Yep, appreciate you. Have fun tomorrow night. Coach Hynes.
Let's play hockey!
By Nico Sturm. A goal line pass to the captain, Landeskog. Shoveled back to Kadri. Cross ice, McKinnon, a drive. They score. Tipped off a body in front. Game 2 not going the Wild's way with 6:42 left. McKinnon with the blast.
It's Hey, Joe, what you doing there with that gun in your hand?
Hey, how's it going? You tried to get Hynes going, didn't you?
I mean, so. Yeah, I mean, you know, Paul Allen, 9 to noon KFAN, known as a bastion of journalistic excellence, right?
Absolutely. You got to take your shot, right? You got to take your shot, even though it might not work. But it's playoffs, so everything's kind of a secret at this time of year.
Well,
so,
you know what, brother?
Totally
First and foremost, Joe Smith, Athletic at Joe Smith NHL via X. Follow him if so inclined. Thanks for listening. That was really cool. What Joe's talking about, if you missed it, got shut down on the goaltending conversation. Hynes sounded like he was in a good mood, but with Eriksson Ek, I mean, if it's a win or lose scenario and you got to lay out the right guess about Eriksson Ek, I'm like, he plays tomorrow night. I mean, there's a chance. Hynes said, "What do you think?"
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a chance. As of yesterday, he hadn't skated since the injury. That weird, he slipped and fell and went hard into the boards in Game 6, finished the game, but hasn't played since. So, I mean, just knowing him, he's such a competitor. I'm sure he'll want to play. At what capacity or percentage that would be, who knows? But we'll find out more today because of a full practice at Tria, so we'll know if he's out there and kind of where things are at. But obviously he's, I think, a better chance to return on the earlier side than, let's say, a Jonas Brodin. But clearly they missed Eriksson Ek, the best two-way center, a guy so important in the penalty kill and the power play, and the second line with Boldy and Johansson. So they need him back as soon as possible. But, we saw that what happened in 2023. He fought so hard to come back. He looked really great in skating for a week and just gave it one shift in that playoff series and couldn't go. So, he's tough. He's going to try, but we'll find out probably later today if there's a better chance he could play tomorrow.
And follow that at Joe Smith NHL via X at Joe Smith NHL. He'll be on top of it like a Russo Radio at Russo Hockey. So, I mean, it's Wally gets the net tomorrow night, 95%, right?
That would be if I were a betting man, that's what I would go with. We don't know for sure, but I would imagine, he's been the guy that got them here as far as from the playoff perspective to second round, and he has the confidence and kind of the moxie. I think he can bounce back from that rough game one. They gave Gustafsson a start in game two, partly to get him in because, they've used two goalies all year, but partly I'm sure to give Wallstedt a little bit of a mental break after starting so many games in a row. But I do think my guess would be Wallstedt on tomorrow night.
Joe has a really cool story at The Athletic about how the Avs are slowing the Wild Stars. And the mixing, just for my taste, the mixing in of Bednar, coach of the Avs, quotes and just how it all tied together was fantastic. For those who missed it, how are the Avs slowing the Wild Stars?
Well, they're not giving them very much time and space, right? And they are being physical with them. You're seeing Nathan McKinnon, other guys trying to get in Boldy's face and trying to frustrate those guys. And we saw how dynamic and important Boldy was in last series with 6 goals. He's got 0 with just 4 shots the first 2 games. He's going to come back and play really well in the next 2 home games. But they're really tight on the gaps and really getting their face, not giving them much time and space. And you saw Krill had the goal on the breakaway or the rush chance last game. That was very few chances the Wild have had. Their top players have had off the rush in this series. So, and part of that's the power play. The power play is clicking. All of a sudden, those guys have racked up the points too. So they're doing a great job, limiting where they are on the ice, being physical, and obviously limiting the power play, which takes away some of their chances to put them on the board.
For somebody who's covered hockey as long as you have, or maybe Michael, like when you're at Ball Arena and that guy Parker Kelly cold cocks a ref, then punches Boldy and gets 0 penalty minutes, is that just look the other way? There's nothing to see here. I mean, why is that acceptable?
I think you see that in other playoff series too. I know Boldy got his licks in there too. Both of them were taking some swings, but yeah, I thought that, and I thought the potentially a boarding penalty on Nathan McKinnon on the Boldy head into the boards there in that same period. So I think there's so many things that go beyond the whistle, and I was surprised with that one with the ref getting knocked around a bit. Yeah. But I just think playoffs, they do call things tighter. They know there's things that preceded what led to that as well. So, we didn't make a huge deal of it at the time. Obviously, a lot of things going on, but that's playoff hockey, apparently. Okay, well, Joe, do you think it's a stupid take? Do you think it's just a 10 of 10 dumb take to say, hey, fighting happens in this game, and things precede it that lead to punches being thrown. However, if anybody makes contact with an official, here's what happens, and we don't care what the reasoning is. What do you think of that? I don't have a problem with that. I think they have a tough enough job as it is. Every game is so fast, and they're going to make mistakes. And I'm sure they'll say that Parker Kelly said I was inadvertent, I was aiming for somebody else, or whatever you want to say it. But either way, you make contact with an official in football, and you're in trouble, right? There's no questions asked with that. So I can see that as something that would be should be more strict around in that perspective. Another at Joe Smith NHL production at The Athletic. Why do the Wild have a lot of belief they can turn around the series? Well, one, they take some from last series and against Dallas, and they did lose 2 games in a row. They did fall 2 games to 1 behind, and they found a way to win 3 in a row. And they saw how fast the series could turn. They were down, 2-1 the game 4, and then all of a sudden they looked like they were going to go down 3-1, and then Foligno scores that goal with 5 minutes left, one of the biggest goals in franchise history. He goes to 2-2, then they go from there. So they know a series can turn quickly. They know this is the best team they've ever had in franchise history, and the guys in the room are capable of winning. It's a really hard, kind of daunting task to win 4-5 from an Avs team that's playing this well, but you can't think of it in that big picture. You think of it in one game of segments, and the biggest game of the year is game 3 on Saturday. So I know we have last change, but what can change by having the next 2 at home? Well, mean, the obvious thing with the energy of the crowd and the momentum to start off, I think that gives, it is a lot of atmosphere at Ball Arena, and versus that gives them a bit of an edge. The last change does maybe help free them up, get some of their top guys away from the McCarrs and such and the McKinnons, and kind of get them in a chance to get more time and space and chances to score. So I think the whole last 3 days gave them a chance to reset mentally and physically and go. But they didn't really have a ton of time to prepare from between Game 6 and Game 1 from last year's to this series. So I think this could have been a chance to reset and kind of do some more prep work and video and kind of try to fix what's problem with the power play and the penalty kill, which are two of the biggest issues right now. So I think all those things considered, if you lose the first 2 games at home, you go on the road, it's more of a daunting task than if you lose the first 2 on the road and now have a chance to make yourself well at home.
What with the way you see it, Joe? What you get on background, or what the public gets via press conferences and interviews? What's going wrong with special teams that absolutely has to be fixed right now, or they're going to get swept?
I mean, the PK would be the first on my mind. I think you can get away with your power play struggling in the playoffs. You cannot, obviously, if the penalty kill's been bad, and the wild penalty kill. 15 out of 16 teams in the playoffs that played really in a big rut now, and I think they lost some confidence as a unit. I think that could happen. Just a lot of guys are on those penalty kill units that need to kind of step up and adjust to what the Avs are doing. And so if they can't stop the power play, they're going to be in really big trouble, because as good as they've been 5-on-5, that's an important part of the game, and that can really give the Avs an edge. And it's hard to come back this many games if you can't kill a penalty.
Lastly, what does your trained eye expect tomorrow night?
I mean, I expect the best game of the Wild season. I think they're going to put everything out there. I think Wallstedt gets the starts and plays really well, and I do think they find a way in Game 3 to win. And it's just my gut, but who knows what will happen? But that's just kind of a feel from series to series and where this team is at and how they've looked. So,
appreciate you, man. Enjoy practice today, and I might see you at the game tomorrow night. Thank you very much, Joe.
No problem. Anytime, PA.
Yep. See you, bud. At Joe Smith, NHL via X. What?
It's time to drop the puck.
At 8 o'clock tomorrow night on KFAN. Middle part of the show has some hoops to it. It has some Juwan Jennings conversation, along with a general managerial search for the Minnesota Vikings. And a rookie camp is today at the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. And Alec Lewis with The Athletic joins us in studio next.